everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fun Comic Book. I'm the Fun Comic Book guy, and today we're going to talk about comics. This is actually the first episode that I'm dedicating to comic books. Hopefully, I'm going to be generating a video every week to go over a weekly haul, share my opinions and impressions of the books that I've purchased, and give you some recommendations. So, with that being said, we're starting off with last week's haul. Now, it's not quite last week's haul. What happened is that with the holidays, my comic book guy was out for a week. He was out ill, and I just haven't been able to catch up on comics. So these comics I read mostly over the past week, but they are a collection from the past 4 weeks. So I'm going to review some comics that came out a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to review all the comics that I have here. And again, I'm going to detail some spoilers, but not anything too major, hopefully. And I'm not going to dwell on the spoilers part. Really, I just want to get the impression of the books, where I think the series was going or had gone in the case of some limited series. And again, provide my opinion. And those are my opinions only, but we'll see if anyone shares them, but if you do have any comments, write them down below. So, again, we're going to do a subset of them. Let's start to take a look at some of them, and we're not going to do each individual comics. In some cases, we're going to look at 2 books to start. These are 2 X books that were part of some limited series. So, the first is The Trial of Magneto. This is number 5. This is the last of that limited series. And this concludes with the realization that Wanda Maximoff is back, and she brings back some friends with her. That's a little spoiler there. Inferno, on the other hand, was really a little bit about identifying what or who is really controlling the X universe, I think. And there are a number of players involved. There's some great intrigue here. There's a lot of backstabbing that has been through the series, and a couple of surprises. Both conclusions actually were pretty good, and maybe the strongest of all the books in their series. But I may dedicate a video just to compare these 2 series a little bit more in depth. I did feel that Trial of Magneto had a number of issues, no pun intended, but had a number of problems, we'll say. First, starting with the name of the series, it really didn't tell you what was actually going to go on. This should have been really called The Death of Maximoff or something like that. I guess the editors decided we have a series called The Death of Doctor Strange, and we don't want to cause confusion. So they called it The Trial of Magneto, and that was a really loose term to use on this. Overall, this was 5 issues. It could have been 3. It did have some impact. Actually, did have the last issue. Did have, I think, a pretty positive but profound impact on the X universe. So I'll give it that, but not exactly my favorite compared to Inferno, which I think each issue was just stellar, and did have a really great ending, a resolution to who Moira is and what role she's playing in things, and no big deaths or anything. I think one of the greatest things was actually seeing Professor Xavier and Magneto go up against Omega Sentinel and Nimrod and others, and what they actually do face. And I think it's going to forever change the X series going forward. The next couple books from Marvel that I want to talk about actually are just the last 2 issues of Star Wars The High Republic, numbers 12 and 13. They're continuing the story off of this is, I think, their 2nd arc, maybe the 3rd arc in the series. Overall, okay. A bit melodramatic, a bit more of the Jedi who is questioning how strong they are, whether or not they're one with the Force, and what that means, and turning possibly to the dark side. We've all seen it before in Star Wars. It's nothing new. Not going to drop the series. It's actually been quite good. Uh, issue 13 did end up on a cliffhanger, of course, where we're going to have a Jedi who possibly will, is potentially going to commit murder, or at least wants to. So overall, pretty good. If I was to give these a grade, I'd give them like a, you know, B, solid B, maybe a B minus. Pretty good though. Next up, Devil's Reign, number 2. This is continuing Wilson Fisk's takeover of New York City with his own superhero initiative. Okay story. I mean, it is progressing. It did progress the narrative a bit. There is a lot happening behind the scenes, I think, in some of the other books, which I'm not reading. I do want to see this pick up a little bit more pace in issues 3 and beyond. But overall, it is keeping my attention. But I do still have the feeling that it's kind of just Civil War redone with a little bit of, coming back to things like Identity Crisis and a whole host of other things. But overall, a pretty good series. And again, looking forward to finishing this up later in the year. Next up are books that I basically just started. Some of them because they are the first issue. But I had back a couple of, probably over a decade ago, I had really loved reading the Avengers books. So first, let's and now I'm getting back into them. So first, let's talk about Avengers Forever, number 1. This is starting to really go over the multiverse that is the Avengers multiverse universe. As identified in issue 750, we do see that there are Avengers. There's the Avenger Prime, and we do have Doctor Doom and friends, or Doom and the Doomettes, going across the multiverse and killing off Avengers of those universes. This is really seen in the Avengers series. I really do like the fact that they are basically have identified a mass attack, a multifaceted attack against the Avengers while they're split up. So the first book handles situations where Thor and Iron Man are under attack with the Phoenix, and in the second one, we are seeing, I believe it was Captain America, forget who else, to be honest. But overall, really good. I really do like where it's going. It's action packed. The Deathlocks are dying left and right. Very, very good series. I'm not giving grade to every single book I'm reviewing here, but overall, I would give these probably the lowest grade I would give them would be a B plus. I think they're probably about an A minus. I'm really looking forward to continuing the series. So great choices. If you haven't read Avengers in a while, I think this is a good place to start. Thor, number 20. God of Hammers, part 2. The God of Hammers is revealed. I'm not going to say who it is, but there are some really interesting scenes between Odin and Thor in this. I think that Thor has been consistently good since the last couple of arcs, including Prey, and now into this with God of Hammers. There really is, the mystery has been revealed, but I think there are more mysteries to it. I am really looking forward to the upcoming Thor books and getting through this. It's really been a pleasure. I give it a A minus for this particular book. Last up on the Marvel group, we have Hulk, or it's just plain old Hulk now, number 3. Banner has now taken Spaceship Hulk, or has been captured in Spaceship Hulk, to another dimension, part of the multiverse, and he meets Dr. Bruce Banner. What a coincidence. You find out that in that Bruce Banner's universe, the gamma explosion that had originally created or manifested the Hulk actually worked out, and the U.S. just basically obliterated the rest of the world with it, creating other Hulks in the process. It's revealed who is now behind, who's seated at the highest levels of power in the United States, and that's revealed at the very end. I am looking forward to see where this goes. Very intriguing opening to this book. I really did like Immortal Hulk up until the end. I really thought there was just a lot going on there, and it was a bit confusing. Here, it's very basic. I think anyone who is just new to Hulk can pick this up, dive right in, understand some of the basic concepts that are occurring in here, and have an enjoyable ride. So, very good book. All right, now we're getting on to DC. And here, the first book that I'm going to review here is Robin's number 3. This one I may have to reread because it wasn't bad. I just think there was a lot of infighting going on, and I was not sure as to really what had started it. I may have been a little bit too tired reading this book, but what I do find is that it is a little annoying with all the Robins together. I do appreciate that we do have a common enemy that's trying to manipulate things in the background, and Tim Drake is falling for that pretty hard. I think that one of the things that bothers me about the book, it kind of identifies something I have a problem with in the Spider-Man books, and that is I like the characters in Spider-Man. I like each of the individual characters of the Spider-Verse and the Spider-Family. I like each individual Robin in their own way in their own books. I don't like them when they're together. And this, I think, just kind of like exemplifies the reason I don't like it, because they just don't team up. When left to their own devices, they just bicker. But I'm probably going to continue on with the series. I'm already at the midpoint here. There's no use in stopping now and then going to buy a trade later on. So I'll probably keep with it. But if push came to shove, I may have dropped the book and just found out what would happen. But overall, it's been a low C grade on this one. Hopefully it picks up in the next couple of issues. Likewise, I was a bit disappointed in the last issue of Superman Son of Kal-El. I picked up the book from issue 1, have been going through it, and was surprised that I actually was starting to really like Jonathan Kent, the next Superman, and that he wasn't as annoying as I thought he previously was. This book kind of brought some of that back. I hope that this is just basically a bridge issue where things are going to start to pick up again. The annual was quite good. The issue of the main series, the non-annual book, I thought was good. It was setting some stuff up where he's now going to go against his real foe, his first real foe, his Luthor, and this one I didn't find that memorable. We're learning that the refugees are being experimented on, etc., etc. Nothing really earth-shattering in this book. Hopefully, the next one picks up the story, but I don't think I'm in danger of dropping it. Still an okay book. I did have to read, because again, I hadn't read issue 2 of Steel, but I read issue 2 and 3 of Steel, or what I call DC Universe meets Game of Thrones. Issue 3 was definitely the stronger of the two books. Both books are actually quite good. They are introducing the characters well. They're not throwing too many characters at us at a time. Some of the characters are in the background. They're not coming to the forefront yet. I'm interested to see how much is going to happen, because we're only now a quarter of the way through the story, and a lot's happened. Kings have died. Supergirl is apparently on a rampage, although I could see that not being what's really happening. or maybe it is. I don't know. It definitely does feel like Game of Thrones meets the DC universe. Dark Knights of Steel. If you haven't started yet, try to find the back issues. I think it's been really good. I think this is what people wanted. What was it? A 1602 to be. I think this is doing it better. Do pick it up. I would give these, high B's. This one definitely like an A minus. Really good. And they're not. What they're not doing is they're not. They're not playing around with the characters so much that they're unrecognizable. It really has been quite good. Next up, Robin and Batman, number 3 of 3. It feels like this series came out 3 weeks ago, and we just basically got 3 issues back to back. It's probably been a bit longer. I loved the story. I thought the artwork was great. I loved the watercolor usage here. But the only issue that I probably had with it is that it is still treading on the same area of the Batman timeline that we've gone over a million times. Richard Grayson becoming Robin, Batman taking on a sidekick, and what does that mean for them? What is that dynamic? We did kind of get a better impression that Bruce really wasn't the best suited to be a parent, and he's not. There's also a good other plot of like how this all ties together, and that is Killer Croc recognizes Dick Grayson, so there is a connection to the Flying Graysons and Killer Croc. So I thought that part of the story was good. I think if they didn't keep going on the origin, the first adventures, and kind of almost revamping some of the way the suits are organized, the way the suits are and things like that. I think that if it had been later on in year 1 of Dick Grayson as Robin, where there's a turning point in the relationship, I think that would have been a little bit more interesting. But overall, a really good series. The best Batman limited series that I've read in a while. So if you do get a chance, pick this up or pick it up in trade. All right, and last on the DC list is my favorite Green Lantern. This book, it's had its ups and downs. It has dragged on a bit. It was hard to keep track after the destruction of the lantern on Oa or the terrorist attack. Some of the things that are revealed, especially in the latest issue, we kind of saw coming. Wasn't that big of a reveal. But what has been very interesting is Jon Stewart's transformation or his ascension with the new gods, and that's been profound, and that had a very interesting storyline that ties in the idea of a future state. I do think that this book has had some great cosmic elements to it. There's definitely been a mini crisis, I would say, in this, and I think that this book is probably doing a lot more in the DC universe than people are thinking that it does. It was starting to get a little bit slow, but now the different storylines are coming together. The enemy or enemies have been revealed. So overall, a really good story. I would say that the last issue is the strongest. I'm hoping that it gets even stronger later on. I would probably give this issue, the issue number 9, a B, maybe a B minus, and this issue a B plus or an A minus. Really good. So now up is Image Comics with Scorched, issue number 1. I recently just got back into Spawn, and now we have essentially Spawn Suicide Squad, which does include Redeemer, She-Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, and Medieval Spawn. And they are in Russia, going up against a tyrannical Russian military that's doing some horrible things and probably working on the behest of something much, much more evil. This is basically introducing how the team gets together. Really interesting series of panels and pages dealing with how they get Gunslinger Spawn onto their team. And of course, Spawn is keeping an eye on this from afar. I'm going to keep up with the series, at least for the next issue, see how it goes. But really good. Artwork was, as expected. I kind of do like the Spawn type of artwork. If you do like Spawn, get this. If you don't like Spawn, don't get this book. Okay. Next up from Image, King of Spies, number 2. Mark Millar comes back with another English spy series. Again, a spy who's dying and decides he's going to take out all the evil that has been in the world, that has been, in some cases, under his own protection. Lots of murdering here. Going after some pretty big things. Some of the elements of who he's killing is clear in the story as he narrates as to who people are. He doesn't necessarily say anyone by name, but you're to assume a real life counterpart here. So it's been good. It's a typical Mark Millar little wild ride. Feels like this is setting itself up for a movie or series somewhere, but pretty solid book. Pretty fast paced. It's introducing a couple of new characters, and hoping to see where this goes too. The last 2 books, one is my pick of the week, and the other is the runner-up. And here's the runner-up. From Image Comics, Bolero, number 1. This was a pretty heavy book in a number of ways. Very metaphysical. It's essentially, if you like kind of like true life stories, relationships, and dealing with breakups and the road not taken, along with a little bit of Quantum Leap, this is your book. A couple things about the book that I want to mention is that this is a very adult book. This is not for the kids. This is a very adult book. But I think that there are some elements in it that do speak to people, especially people who are still in, single, in relationships, trying to find that person, whether it's themselves or someone else. And the point here is that the main character is now going to be able to go into kind of like different lifetimes of instances of self across different universes, and then she can only do that a maximum of 53 times, or else she can go crazy. Basically, the brain melts down. So it's an interesting setup, and I thought, wow, that's an interesting idea for a series. And then I looked in, this is a limited series of 5 issues. So I'll like to see how they're going to play with that, because she's going to be jumping more than it's going to be the allotted time. So I'll keep an eye on this book. Very good. Excellent writing. Artwork was great. If you do get a chance to find this book, take a look through this, and I think you'll be hooked. It was quite good, quite a pleasure to read. But there can only be one winner. What's the furthest place from here? Number 3. Oh man, this book was good. This book has been good. I love setup in a post-apocalyptic scenario where you don't really know what's happening. You're in the middle of the story. And the characters don't even know really what's happening. They're just there. We're dealing with kids. We're not dealing with anyone who is able to generate any sort of history or understanding. This book here went took itself to a new level when it has introduced a new cast of characters that I hope we revisit again. One of the most interesting and scary characters in Nana and the Elderly. I'm not going to go into too much, but they are scary, and probably scarier than the strangers who you finally start to see. And after being introduced to them, you have more questions. I cannot wait to see where this book is going. Artwork is fantastic. Writing is fantastic. Every chapter keeps you going. One of my favorite parts is that they're having dinner, and Nana asks that they say grace, and after some conversation, Nana says, "No, pray to your gods. Who are your gods?" And they take out their albums because they've been living in a record store, and that spoke so much to these characters and painted so much more texture onto them. Fantastic book. If you have not started to read What's the Farthest Place from Here, get it. This an A. This issue was great. I'm really looking forward to the next issue. Pick of the week. Excellent book. And that concludes it. A lot of books to talk about this week. Next time I do a comic book video, we'll have fewer comics to talk about. Hopefully. I looked at my pull list for the week, and I think it is definitely going to be a little bit smaller, so I'll be able to go into a little bit more depth on those issues. So I do look forward to talking about those books with you. And as always, if you do like what you see, please do like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. I do try to keep up with posts and announcements as to when new videos drop on there. And again, if you have any suggestions for me of comics I should be reading, or comments of the books that I just read, please leave them down below. And thank you for watching, and have a great time.